Good afternoon, everybody. Of course, it never fails that one thing leads to another with me. And the other day I was making a little um, purse-sized notebook from these envelopes. Now, I had started with this white type envelope, and I had painted a bunch of them just with my jelly plate, and because I had wanted to make some books with them. Well, the books have grown into many, many books. But the other day I was making one with signatures, and all the signatures were 4 by 5, I think. And when I cut, because I was cutting my long sheets of paper, I ended up with a piece of leftover that was this big. So, and this is version 2, I decided that I would make another little notebook where I put in a pad of paper instead of just signatures. So what I did was, and this is the same as the one, and I'll link to the other video. I had this piece, and I cut it. It is, again, 4 inches from here to here. So I cut these 2.5 inches wide, just like so. Well, it helps if I put the paper in the right way so I can measure. Can you see that? Yep. And it's all about using it up and using what you've got and not throwing anything away that you can help not throwing away. So because I was cutting that and ending up with these pieces, I did end up throwing that away. That was bad. I ended up with these 2.5 by 4 inch pieces that I then took, I took my envelope, you see my envelope is here, and I just folded it in half, like so, and I used my little bone folder and I folded it like so. Then I took my now cut up sort of pad of paper, and I set it in very carefully. Now it takes some oomph to go through all this paper, so you want to make sure you've got a good stapler when you do that. And then I did the next step a little bit different too, because I wanted to still have a little bit of a signature. So I have like 6 sheets, and they're 4 by 5, and I folded them in half, just like I did for the sewn-in signatures in the other little envelope book. And again, I used my bone folder. Now then, for this one, what I did was, and I think I'm going to go ahead and use this purple just because I think it'll be cute. I want 2 strands to hold this together. So I want 2 lengths plus some, because I need some little ties. So don't short yourself on thread. And this thread is Pro Cotton. It's just something I have a lot of. But what I did on this one, instead of trying to sew the little signature in, I sort of made a little Midori style situation where I just put the thread into the crease of the envelope. Brought my tails so that they'll come up here. We want them to be kind of the same length. Probably going to trim them off anyways, but then I want to tie this as tight as I can get it. Nah, not as tight as I can get it, because I probably could pull it tighter, but I want it nice and snug. And now I just have to tie it a couple of times because we're going to put some beads on it. But then I can take my little 6 sheets of paper, and this will allow the recipient of this little gift to replace it if they want. I just tucked them in underneath the string instead of sewing them. Just another little different style. Like so. And now I have a pad of paper and a little signature. I have my little pocket. And now what I want to do is I want to dress up these staples on the top, because frankly, the staples are, well, now I slid everything to one side. That's not good, is it? There we go. The staples are kind of, I don't know, they just don't please me. So what I did was, I need a 2.5-inch piece of paper, and I just used decorative paper. I need it 2.5 inches by 1.5 inch. So I'm just going to cut off a 1.5-inch piece here. And so I have it 2.5 by 1.5. And I have this little piece of paper. Nothing fancy. And I folded it in half, like so. And then I took my corner rounder, and let me put this one back in here. You see, I just rounded the corners a little bit. It just made it just a little bit more decorative, a little neater. And then I'm going to glue this on the top edge over the staples. Do you see how that goes? And I just used my Mono Aqua glue. And I just made sure I got kind of close to the edge. Nice and a bunch in the middle. And you have to glue both edges of it down. And I just folded it right across the top, right across those staples, pulled it down tight. Now if you're worried about it, or if you used a heavier piece of paper, you might have to clip that until it dries, but I had no trouble with that. Okay, so now we need to create its closure. And I did this one just like I did the last one. Let's slide that back in again. And what I did, though, was I did make sure I put my closure over the top of these, because when that rubber band, when this elastic slides up and down, you don't want it to come off this. You don't want to be pulling against this. You want it to go over the top. So I just took my elastic, and this is just black corded elastic that I get at the fabric store. And I need to go around it, plus a little bit to tie. See here, I'm going to give myself a little bit to tie. And I just tie a square knot in this. And if you're not sure how to tie a square knot, I'm going to have to ask you to look up that on YouTube. I can never explain it to people. I've done it for so many years. And I should have left myself a little more elastic. That just was hard to tie. Okay, so now I have my closure made, but we don't want this to keep coming off. So what I did is I took a little decorative piece, and that decorative stuff it's actually a ribbon. It's got plastic pieces, and it's got nylon threads that hold those plastic pieces together, and I just cut one off. Now, a button would work, any little decorative type sticker would work. These are just what I have, so it's all about what I have. And I'm just trimming. There's little nylon fibers that go between these things. Okay, now the other thing is that just sticking that on there, it just kind of, it was okay, but it's not as pretty as I would like it to be. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to cut a little piece of this eyelash trim, and it's actually, I think this is called, well, it's called Premier Yarns Mary. It's just a fuzzy yarn, and you need 5 or 6 inches of it. And what I do is I wrap it around my finger in a little circle, because then it makes the fibers kind of go out from my finger. And I can just hold it like that. Now for this, I wanted to use tacky glue. Oh shoot. I should have glued this down first before I wrapped that around my finger. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a dot of glue down there, and I'm going to stick the knot of the elastic right in that dot of glue. I'm going to put another dot of glue around on this. And then I'm going to wrap that around my finger and turn it into a little circle of fibers. Let me just wrap it again. It's just so much easier if you wrap it right around your finger. And I just use my little finger because it's, I want it as small as possible. You could wrap it maybe around a pencil or something like that. But then when I lay this down in there, I've got fibers popping out from everywhere instead of just laying it across. So now I've got with glue, and I've got all kinds of glue in there, and I will go back after this dries and clip off those extra pieces of black elastic. I'm going to glue this. I'm going to put some more glue in the middle of that right there, and I'm going to glue this all down. Now, several things. One of the nice things about tacky glue is that it dries clear. It stays a little flexible. So it will hold that elastic in place without a lot of problems. Now, when I finish, I am going to set this under some weight because I want it to dry as close to the paper as possible. You see, this one's nice and dry, and it's flat. This one is standing up right now because of the knot of the elastic and everything else. So as soon as I finish this up, I'll stick it under some weight. When I stick it under some weight, I'll be putting some wax paper on top of there so that if any glue pops up through it, I will not have it stuck to whatever it's under. Okay, we have some beads to do now. We want to decorate our little strings that come off the top, and I have some size 6 and some size 8 seed beads. And you know, if you don't have silver ones, use pretty colors. If you want a different color, I was just being lazy and making them all the same. And I obviously have a lot of seed beads. Since what I have been doing for the last 17 years or so is making glass beads, and I end up with, and I make jewelry, and I have seed beads. So okay, we need about 4 of those. The reason for the size 8 beads is that this cord or thread is not very big. And when you tie a knot in it, it might come through the size 6 seed beads. If you tie a knot and you've got an 8 on the end of it, the 8 has a smaller hole, so the knot is not as likely to come out. You could glue the last bead on. I just have never found a necessity to do that. But I put on like 4 of the big size 6 seed beads, then I put on an 8, and it helps to have a needle, and the needle is just a spot where the knot can stop. It's an odd way to explain it, but when I'm making just an overhand granny knot, there's that loop right there. Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit. I had trouble with that the other day. No, it will not let me zoom in any more than that. So let me see. See that little loop? What I'll do is I'll stick my needle in that loop, and as I pull down, the knots go right where that needle is. And I'm going to make 2 or 3, again, knots in each thread. And I just find where that knot is and put my needle in, and it will make it right on top of the same spot. And I cut my threads a little short today. I should not have done that. I hate working with thread that's short. But once you get that knot tied, you just give yourself a little 1/4 of an inch and you clip off your beads, and then you have that. Now I'm going to show you that again. I just put on like 4 of the size 6, and with seed beads, the smaller the number, the bigger the bead. So size 6, 3 and 6 are about as big as seed beads come. They come down, as far as I know, about 15s are about as small as they come. Most people are familiar with seed beads that are right around size 11. And like I said, if you just put your needle in right next to the last knot, that next loop will pull down to the spot where the knots are. And your knot will pile up on top of itself. So I'm not going to make you watch me put all of those seed beads on, but I'm going to finish this out by putting on 2 more sets of seed beads. I'm going to put it under some weight so that it glues itself down a little bit tighter. And I end up with this second version of the mini envelope notebook with an elastic closure. This one has a pad of paper and a little removable signature rather than sewn in signatures. It's got the envelope pocket in the back. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. I hope your day is fabulous, and if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, please do subscribe. I hope you have fun. I hope you make some art. Bye.